Taylor. Welcome to 20 something.
Thank you.
I'm very, very excited that you're here. Apparently I'm saying words in 2 or 3s at this moment.
Yeah, no, I'm grateful to be here.
Well, Taylor, for the person who is spending an hour or so of their time with us today, what is going to change about their life, their mindset based on our conversation?
I think hopefully they get a little bit of insight on just what it means to be human. I think one of the reasons I love talking to you is because we just talk about what it means to be a freaking human.
We can gab.
We can gab, but to me, it's not really instructional. It's just experiential.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about, sadness and pain and heartbreak and maybe a waiting season. But we also talk about hope and joy and love and what it means to experience life.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on, because I think the first time we had a conversation like that, it helped me realize that I really wasn't alone in a lot of what I was feeling. And I know that that's going to be the case for everyone listening today. So I'm excited to get into it with you. Let's go.
Okay.
Wait, are we recording? Hey, it's Liv, and welcome back to 20 something. Have you ever had a moment where you realize that you've kind of outgrown who you were last year or even a few months ago? And it's not always in some big dramatic way, but it's in like those small, quiet ways. The things you care about shift, the conversations you want to have change. And suddenly some of your habits, your relationships, or your definitions of what success is just doesn't look the same anymore. And I actually think that this is a really normal part of being in your 20s. It's this ongoing process of getting to know yourself more honestly. And I think that so many of us hit these seasons where the old ways stop working, old identities, old beliefs, old definitions of successes, but our new ones haven't fully formed yet. And it's this weird in-between space that can feel confusing, lonely, and honestly a little scary. Because you're letting go of old versions, trying new ones on, and you're slowly figuring out what feels true to you. And so today's conversation really lives in that space, the in-between. It's about self-discovery, curiosity, and growth. Not the polished, I have all the answers version of yourself, but it's the real, thoughtful process of learning who you are as life keeps changing. I'm really excited for this conversation, and I think that you're definitely going to feel seen in it. Today in the studio, we have Taylor Church. He is the host of the Of Stone and Clay podcast and author of many books. And he is nothing if not brilliant at really delving into your own identity, your own emotions and feelings, and how to move forward with that. I'm so grateful that you're here as always. Let's get into it. Taylor. Mr. Church, I'm so glad to have you here.
Olivia, I'm grateful to be here.
And,
this is awesome.
I had to get you back, obviously.
You have to, yeah.
I'm sure lots of people are aware of you and your podcast, but just give the people a little bit of context into who you are and what you do.
I'm about.
Yeah.
Gosh, I do a lot of things. I think
book reviews as of late.
Yeah, I do some book reviews. My podcast is called Of Stone and Clay. I mostly am just interested with the human condition, So I love talking to people. I love picking people's brains and digging into their souls a little bit. I don't know, just trying to be cool.
You are cool.
But yeah, just trying so hard.
No, you are cool. And that's the goal here today is I think you do a really good job at picking people's brains and getting in there.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping I can kind of throw it back on you today.
Yeah, get in there.
Yeah. Because I think one of the things that you do really well, it's one of the things I actually deeply admire about you, is you're really good at giving your self the space, one, to get to know new versions of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But also it sounds maybe a little silly, but I think you are brave enough to dive into it and to ask questions.
Yeah.
And that's not always the easiest thing.
Yeah. I guess it doesn't feel especially akin to bravery to me, but it feels like the only way I can really enjoy my life.
Yeah.
Like even part of being really self-curious is I really struggle with anytime I start to feel robotic. Anytime I start to feel like someone's asking me a question that I've answered 37 times, so I'm just going to regurgitate the same thing, right? It makes me feel like I don't even know the English language.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like I've just memorized a bunch of phrases.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so part of being really introspective for me is trying to take each question as it is and not just be like, okay, I have an answer ready, And as a podcaster, as somebody that goes on podcasts and talks about the same things a lot of times, I'm like, I'm going to drive myself crazy if I just have 30 memorized answers.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Well, we've kind of talked about where.
Do you like the leg crossed?
It doesn't matter to me. I sit crisscross applesauce.
Aesthetically, is this kind of dignified? Is it kind of?
You look very much like a male when you do that.
I'm such a male.
Like males definitely do that. And that they go like this with their hands.
Do they really?
And they go like this with their leg and they're like, and therefore I am a male.
What is a female thing to do with my hands?
I don't know. Like I think women, what do I do with my hands?
I feel like you're fidgety.
You like play with your hair a lot as a woman, I think. Okay. I feel fidgety.
No, I feel like women can be fidgety doing a lot of different things.
Well, I think it's like we could really dive into that, but low key like beauty standards. Women are always like, I don't know. But you know what's dumb is it's like men can sit cross-legged.
Yeah.
And it's like acceptable. If a woman sits like this, it's like a little like, okay, bro. Like, do I do it sometimes? Yeah.
I don't know. I've never judged a woman for her sitting ways.
I don't believe that.
I'm serious. I got plenty of things I'm sure I judge them for, but sitting is not one of them.
Well, at least you design cool hats.
That's true.
Repping the same hats.
That's right.
Right now, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and same brand.
Yep, same brand.
Yeah.
But have you released those yet?
No, they'll probably be out beginning of March.
Okay.
Soon. Yeah.
I'll buy one.
Thank you.
I'll miss you if you want.
It's such a funny phrase. It's like when you're going through heartbreak, you're like, I really miss this person, but I can't really, they're done with me. They don't want to be with me anymore. So it doesn't feel okay to say I miss you anymore. It's almost like I miss you if you want.
But if you don't want, I actually don't miss you at all.
I moved on. It's
I'm
chill.
Totally fine.
Yeah, it's me being really low key about being deeply heartbroken.
You're deeply heartbroken right now?
No, not currently. No.
When was the last time
that I was deeply heartbroken?
Deeply. I think we've talked about this.
Yeah.
Was it the 2-monther? Yeah,
it was about 2.5 years ago when it ended, but that heartbreak was nice and protracted.
As it tends to be.
It stayed with me for a long, long time.
Yeah. It had teeth.
Oh, it had teeth? It was a violent period of my life.
Yeah. But that's one thing I actually wanted to pick your brain about, because I think with introspection comes a lot of not being afraid of like these big emotions. Do you feel like you've always been like this introspective person, or did you have a moment where you're like, my life doesn't necessarily look like I thought it would at this point, and so?
Yeah, I think part of me has always been very introspective. Ever since I was a little kid, I was obsessively writing in journals, but when you're really young, you don't really understand why you're doing anything.
That's actually a really good point.
It's not like I was 8 years old and telling everyone, hey, I'm an introspective kid.
My name's Taylor Church and I am introspective.
I'm on a healing journey and I'm sick of getting made fun of at recess. Like I think I was naturally curious, and for some reason I felt compelled to document my life. And it makes sense that I became a podcaster.
Crazy.
But yeah, I was always, when you write, you learn about yourself and you figure out what you actually think and what you actually feel. And so from a young age, I think I was doing that, not really understanding what was happening until I got a little bit older. And then, I became a little bit more obsessed with knowing what am I feeling and why am I doing the things that I'm doing, and trying to avoid making the same mistakes over and over, and trying to not be overwhelmed by emotions, And so I think, to answer your question, I think ultimately it's an evolution, right? I don't think you wake up one day and you're like, I'm going to be more introspective and I'm going to dig deeper and I'm going to start now,
Ready, set, go.
I think because I've looked inward a lot, I'm not afraid of emotions. So I'm not afraid of feeling sad. I'm not afraid of feeling angry. I'm not afraid of being anxious. And a lot of times, a main catalyst of our depression is we're depressed that we're depressed, and we're fearful that we'll continue being depressed, and we're scared that people will see that we're depressed. And it's all based in fear and anxiety. And I'm not impervious to any of these negative emotions, right? But I'm not really scared of them.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Because as you're saying that, I'm like thinking of so many times in my life I've encountered that. And it's interesting, like a lot of the listeners of this podcast have shared things with me where it typically comes about in this way, right? Where they have this moment, and sometimes it feels like a big moment, and other times you wake up and you're just like, oh, my beliefs have changed, be that religious or something else. What I want out of life has changed. And I think that those emotions can feel very much tidal wave-ish, right? And it feels very overwhelming, which then I think can lead to a number of things, some of those being various numbing techniques or like running away techniques. Like there's lots of different things. How are you not scared of feeling all those emotions?
I think because when you actually feel them, and you're not, I think part of the thing that's so scary is when you are trying to escape them and trying to numb them, they're still there, right? And so you're still experiencing some of the pain of that because they don't really go away. And so when you just decide to feel them and be in them, and maybe embrace is the wrong word, but to just fully accept what you're in, the moment you're in, it can still be really painful. But if you're just, you use the metaphor of a tidal wave. If you're just always terrified that a tidal wave is going to fall on you, your life's going to be fairly miserable, right? But if you're like, hey, I'm in the sea and every once in a while one's going to come, sometimes I'll have some warning, sometimes I won't. But I'm just going to brace for it and I'm going to try to endure it. And I'm going to try to come up for breath when I can, But if I'm always just like, a tidal wave's coming, you're not going to live your life.
Yeah.
You're
just bracing for impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, I think people that really struggle with anxiety, that's part of the reason why they're so unsettled.
Yeah. Because you're always worried about like the what if.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Have you ever struggled with anxiety?
Not really. We all get anxious about different things, right? We all experience dread. We all experience, you have something that is going to happen in the future and you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Or you're not looking forward to it. So there is a bit of anxiety, but I don't really walk around with much of it. If it's a negative emotion, for me, it's probably going to be sadness. That's what's going to wrap its nasty, gnarled fingers around me.
Do you feel like you feel sad often?
I feel like there's a little sad shadow always nearby. Right? And so...
Why?
I think part of it is I'm a very empathetic person. And so I feel people's sadness and I want to meet people where they're at too. So if somebody is incredibly sad, I don't want to walk in the room just beaming ear to ear and telling them about how amazing my life is and how positive I am. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want to be negative, but I want to meet them where they're at, and I want to empathize with them. And there's a certain sadness connected to being in a stage of your life that you're not fully satisfied with, a stage that you would like to graduate from, right?
Yeah.
And you just keep getting held back.
Yeah.
There's a certain sadness connected to loneliness. And I'm not like chronically, cripplingly lonely, right? But it's another tidal wave, right? It's another wave that hits you at times. And so, but like I said, I'm not really fearful of sadness.
That's cool.
And part of that is, I think I'm lucky to not really suffer from really clinical depression, right? I just kind of know that it comes in waves at times. And I think partly because I don't escape it, it never overtakes me.
There's a certain, I think, power that comes in like being comfortable with your emotions, like being able to have that shadow nearby, like you said, and acknowledge it and wave at it.
Yeah.
What's up?
It's almost an old friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not like something scary with teeth.
Mhm.
Because I think our emotions, like if you go back to just the most basic nature of our bodies and why we have them, they're either to like inform us or protect us. They're always telling us something, right? And it's interesting how, at least me in my own life, so many times with those negative emotions, I think especially when I was growing up, it was always like, okay, let me put a Band-Aid on that. If it's anger, if it's sadness, if it's anxiety, if it's depression, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, which obviously never fixes it.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of those emotions you described are emotions that especially a lot of people in our age demographic are more familiar with than they might care to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I think the way that you not only like approach your podcast, but your life is really, really powerful because I don't know, it feels very empowering when you talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, thank you. I think when you kind of can tell yourself that sadness isn't necessarily an enemy, it isn't necessarily a problem.
Yeah.
It's simply a factor of life, and you don't want it to define you either. You don't want to be a sad person. And that's just how you how you identify.
Yeah.
Right. But to just say, sadness comes and goes just like happiness. We just have to remember that negative emotions tend to impact us more. And so if we know that, we can kind of coach ourselves into giving more credence to our positive emotions, right? And B, trying to mitigate how long a negative emotion stays with us, because sometimes, I'm sure you notice this, but you have like this amazing day where just everything's going right and you get good news and you hang out with your friends and you get a great meal and you go to the beach and it's just a wonderful day.
Utah. Yeah, we're going to the beach.
Yeah, and we found a beach in Utah.
Utah Lake.
And we got Giardia. But then you get home and a sibling sends you a text about something that you did that they're annoyed at, and it feels like your day's just completely ruined.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, this was like 1 to 3% of my day, if you really break it down.
Yeah.
But I'm making it feel like this is 70% of my day. And so it's just being aware that as humans, we are impacted more by negative emotion.
Yeah.
And so
it's like that classic thing. And I think about this every time on my birthday, where it's like you could get a happy birthday text from 100 people and you're going to be thinking about the 2 that like for some reason didn't reach out. And I always try to like not have that mindset, especially when I'm aware of it. I'm like, okay, I need to, but I think there's a certain acceptance in just being like, okay, we notice them more, but like noticing it and then not letting it define your whole day.
And to me, the antidote is to notice the positive things more.
Yeah.
And give them attention and give them credit and be like, no, I literally got 36 texts from people I love.
Yeah.
Let me be happy about that.
Let me think about those. Yeah. You mentioned one thing previously about being stuck in like a stage of life that you really want to graduate from.
Mhm.
What do you mean by that?
I just can't get my degree.
Yeah.
No. I just keep.
I'm like, what?
I
Your
just keep-
18th degree?
I just keep failing classes. No, I'm talking about, when you are single and you really desire. What's the opposite of single? Being a double.
Being a double?
Being
Yeah.
a double.
Yeah.
Starting your family, and to me also, I want to make this distinction. Yes, I really want to be married. Yes, I want to have children. Yes, I want to sort of graduate to that next stage of life, right? But to
Yeah.
me, more importantly, I want to find the right person and fall stupidly in love with them,
Mm.
right? And then marriage and family is a wonderful, marvelous byproduct
Yeah.
of that. And so until you're to that stage,
So hopeless romantic.
I like to think of myself as a hopeful romantic,
I like that better.
Yeah. Because there's hope,
Of
you
course.
know? But yeah, until you're sort of to that next stage of life, it can feel like, man, I keep getting held back and I'm turning in my assignments and I'm doing the things I need to do to graduate, but they won't give me that diploma.
Yeah. I remember when my dad was still around, still kicking, he really wanted this promotion at work. And his manager gave him all of these like benchmarks he had to hit to get promoted. And I remember him like coming home and he was so excited. And it was like, I'm going to, hit all these things. And then over the next year, he like hit them all with flying colors. And so I remember like at the end of the year when the promotion came up and I had asked him about it and he was like, oh no, I didn't end up getting it. And I was more frustrated for him than he was. Like, I think that other things were going on, other opportunities where he was like, oh, it's fine. But for me, I was like, that is so dumb because you did everything and you did it right and you deserved that promotion and you didn't get it. And I've thought about that a lot, not only in terms of dating, but I think just so naturally in this stage of life, you're like always chasing something, be it a job, be it a relationship, whatever it is. And it's a really special type of discouraging where you're like, I really am doing everything right. I'm doing everything the best that I can. So why am I still failing accounting? Where it's just like, why can I not get that dang diploma?
But it's, it's a cute little metaphor, but it's not nearly as quantifiable as, taking a class and graduating. Right. Yeah. And I think part of the problem is I always just grew up and I saw, my parents got married at 21. Most of my aunts and uncles probably got married no later than like 23, 24, maybe,
pushing it,
some dark age like that. And then, a lot of my friends got married in their early 20s. And pretty quickly it was like, I don't know. I guess I just always expected this would just happen really pretty easily.
Yeah.
And I never felt like I was so like that I struggled so much with dating that it would be hard. Right. I actually think I'm a decent dater, but I think I didn't realize that the enterprise of love was actually a really difficult thing.
What do you mean?
And I know it's not for everybody, but for me, dating is easy. Finding somebody you really love that also loves you deeply is incredibly challenging. And the more you date and the more experience you have, your bar often raises. And then it makes it even more challenging.
Yes. That's the kicker.
And I think I always had a high bar, which I think is a good thing. But yeah, it's just, love as an entity, as an enterprise, whatever you want to call it, I think is incredibly challenging and incredibly difficult to find the kind that you want. I think I could go find somebody that would love me, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to just find somebody, I want to find somebody that kind of lights my soul on fire a little bit,
Yeah, what are we looking for? Because I'm sure you get told, maybe I'm assuming here, that maybe your standards are too unrealistic or too high or...
Sure. I think most people think that and don't say it.
No, I'm saying.
Do you think they
I
are?
actually don't think that, but I think that's because I know you.
Yeah.
But I get told that.
Right. And I think people are even more cautious with women with that language than with men.
Really? Well,
I
tell my extended family that.
I'd be happy to.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll reach out. But no, I think my standards are gorgeous. Yeah.
What are your standards?
What are my standards?
The gorgeous standards.
These gorgeous standards of mine. Really, I don't even like the word standards. I have things that I'm looking for, and things that are important to me. And I could name you probably 50 things I'm looking for, but above all else, to me, the supreme number one, everything else can go die, is personality. Right. And to me, I tell this to some people, and sometimes their retort is, well, that's great, but, religion is more important, or, belief systems, or being aligned, or family, or whatever. And I'm like, that's all great. I'm here for it, but none of that matters if I don't absolutely love their personality. If I'm not obsessed with it, because I'm searching for somebody that I want to essentially hang out with the rest of my life.
Yeah, I was going to say, okay, so riddle me this. Let's say you walk into a really romantic setting. Walmart, just kidding.
Yeah.
Some cute, cozy bookshop. And you see this woman who you're, boom, connection, love at first sight, whatever. What is her personality? What is she acting like?
I love a really nice combination of serious and silly.
Okay.
So I like somebody that can pretty easily toggle between the two. And so when I say serious, I mean there's depth to them, and they can talk about anything, and they can talk about serious topics, and not that they're innately serious. I like a pretty unserious person.
Yeah,
actually,
I was going to say, yes.
But serious topics, right? And there's depth to them, but at the drop of a hat, we can be silly, and we can have inside jokes, and we can be weird. And so that's a really important thing for me. And I think this is how it should be for everyone, but I think whoever you're with, you should feel like you can fully be completely yourself and not have any airs about it, and not have any sort of production involved, any sort of performativeness. Like, you should just be yourself.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
It is hard.
Like, a lot of people, even friends, a lot of times we're mostly ourselves, but we know they don't really like when I talk about this, or this subject is kind of off limits for them, or we're really good friends, but we don't go very deep. We're just kind of here to have fun. But with your partner, person you're going to live the rest of your life with, it's like, no, I need that more than anything.
I actually think that's one of the hardest parts about, there's so many hard parts about heartbreak, but one of the hardest parts is when you have that with someone where you're like, oh, I was fully myself. And then that next first date you go on with just a stranger. Yes. Where you go from here to backwards. You go from emotional depth of this to how many siblings do you have?
I say, I don't know.
And what was your major? And it's just, every time that has happened to me in my life, I'm like, man, this is a special kind of torment being right back to.
Right.
Where did you grow up?
No, nowhere.
Actually, nowhere. I was born right here, actually. Yeah. But it's hard, I think, someone, especially with your emotional intelligence and so aware of what you want, day in, day out dating and all of this stuff, because I'm going to copy a question you asked me when I was on your podcast, but how many couples do you know that have the kind of relationship that you want?
Obviously, there's tons that I probably just haven't met yet, right? But in my life, there's really not very many.
It's like shockingly
There's
low.
like 3 or 4, you know? And there's, if you want to extend it out a little bit, there's probably 15 or 20 that I'm like, yeah, they're pretty darn good.
Yeah.
You know, they have a nice little something going on.
Yeah.
But the ones that I'm like, I admire them as a couple. I admire what they have. I admire their love. And I'm seeking to find a similar type. It's a very, very small number.
Which I don't want to put words in your mouth, but sometimes for me in dating, it's like we're in such a saturated area that it's wild that like there's so many people and the amount of couples like that are so few. And it just makes me wonder, I'm like, what are you supposed to do in dating or in the way that you live your life to be conducive of that sort of relationship?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough because I think to achieve it, you just need 2 people that are both, maybe it's not the right word, maybe people won't like this, but I think you need 2 people that are obsessed with their relationship, right? They're obsessed with it getting better. They're obsessed with it being a priority. They're obsessed with the way it looks and the way it's evolving. And it's their favorite thing.
Yeah.
You know? And I think a lot of people, their relationship is just kind of part of life. And it just kind of happened for them and they stumbled upon it. And I think a lot of people take their partner for granted and they take their relationship for granted and their marriage and their family for granted. And that's definitely a silver lining of not having those things for a while, right? I'm kind of like, I'd rather die than take my wife for granted for a single evening.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And I'm sure I'll have my moments of weakness, but...
And I'll play back that clip for you. Taylor, remember this?
I'm like, oh gosh, I took her for granted, didn't I? You know? But yeah, it takes 2 people to both feel that way and to also act that way. I think a lot of people would like their life to be like that and their relationship to be like that, but it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of self-awareness too. I remember when I was like, I went through a little, well, I say little, what felt like an eternal spout with our good friend, depression, a little bit after my dad died.
Yeah.
And I remember someone said to me during that time, like the darkness that you feel right now is going to make you so much more capable of like seeing so much more light.
Mm.
And I remember when they said that to me, I was like, shut up. Like you have no semblance of understanding of what I'm going through for you to like tie this pretty red bow on it and be like, this is going to make you so much more capable of happiness later.
Right.
And obviously all good intentions on their side, but it was interesting, like to your point, once I kind of moved out of that phase, it's not that I think I was more capable of feeling more joy, even though maybe it felt like that initially. I think I was just so much more aware of it and so much more grateful.
Yeah. Do you feel like you appreciate joy more now?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's like one of the pros of marriage and dating not coming super easily and you know, turning 20 and enter soulmate, which I think we face a lot of that pressure here. But it's just like that appreciation, like when that does come, it's like exactly what you say. I'd never take that for granted.
Yeah.
Because you know what it's like to like fight for that and want that so bad and not have it.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to my buddy's parents have a really, really beautiful relationship. They're probably one of those couples, right?
That's cool.
They definitely like the way they run their household or their philosophies. Like, it's not like I'm aligned with everything, right? But just the way they care about each other and the way they talk about each other and the way they always want to hang out, they always want to do stuff. I just love it. But I was hot tubbing with my buddy and his dad, and we were just having just hot water man talk, okay. You know? We were kind of talking about relationships and things with him and his wife. And he said, guys, I know nobody would believe me if they heard me say this, but being married to her, he said, it honestly feels like I'm a billionaire. Mm-hmm. Like it's like every day I wake up and know that I have billions of dollars. Like I have that level of joy and excitement and peace. And, he's like, I hit the lottery.
Wow.
And so every day I'm celebrating that, and I'm like, some people might hear that and be like, well, that's not the real world. Like marriage is about compromise and marriage is,
True.
And I'm like, okay, but
they also have that.
I'm like, okay, but he lives in the real world.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your argument is there.
Yeah.
And I know them pretty well. They've had their challenges and they've had some really, really hard things happen that would for sure tear certain families apart, but they're both obsessed with their marriage.
Yeah.
And it's something that they view as holy and sacred. And so nothing can hinder it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. One of my old assistant soccer coaches, when I was in high school, it was like your very typical Utah romance. He like met this girl. I think they were engaged within like 2 or 3 months and married within seemed like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, wow, they seem like such a good fit, but this is really fast. And they turned into one of those couples for me where I just think their marriage is incredible. And I had them tell me this was years ago, but they said that when they were getting marriage advice that someone had told them right before they got married, they had told the husband, there's going to come a time when you take your wife like off of the pedestal that she's on and you're going to see, and there's going to be issues. You're going to have to work through it, all this stuff. And when he's talking to me, they've been married now for years. And he was saying, when I got that advice, my first thought was, well, why would I do that?
Yeah.
And he was like, and so our entire marriage, of course I've kept my wife on this pedestal because that's exactly where she belongs. And when he told me that, I was like, oh man, like you've got something figured out there that most people are missing.
Yeah.
Where it's just a certain effort and a certain respect. Because obviously, I mean, I'm not married, so I don't know. It doesn't sound easy.
Yeah.
But it certainly sounds worth it.
But I'll tell you what, I've talked to, a lot of couples that have that relationship I really admire. And they talk like their relationship is really easy.
Yeah.
And that marriage is easy. Like I was talking to my cousin, and at the time, him and his wife had been married, I think 10 years or something, had a couple kids and they'd had a lot of trials. Like they went through infertility for like 8 years, finally got pregnant. He was diagnosed with MS, like a lot of really serious hardships. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, everyone always told us that the first couple of years of marriage will be the hardest. And he goes, they were so easy. They were the easiest. They were like, and he's like, and then it's just gotten easier, because our love has just grown and we know each other better and we have more experience together and we've been in trenches together. And so when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, okay, I'm not taking advice from anyone.
Yeah.
Unless I admire what they have.
Yep. 100%.
It's like, I'm not going to listen to somebody explain to me what music sounds like that's deaf. I'll be like, I'm glad that's what you think music sounds like. I'm going to go talk to a musician.
Yeah, 100%. I had one of my good friends give me the advice once that like, she was like, when you're trying to decide someone that you want to be with, she's like, you can feel anxiety about everything going on, but the one thing you should never feel anxiety about, like, is them. Like, you should always just feel like a sense of peace towards them. And it's when you hear stuff like that, it's like, okay, this waiting period, even though it's hard and maybe longer than you were hoping, than I have been hoping, it's like, well, surely it'll probably be worth it then.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. I'm interested. I think that thinking of my own experience and other people that I've spoken to, kind of going back to what you're saying about being curious about yourself and your own emotions. I think when your core beliefs, again, it can be about religion or you in any way, really. And it's really easy to just tune that off and it becomes anxiety. It can become anger. It can become fear. Do you have like any, like for someone who's feeling that way and it's like they're wanting to kind of tap in to a little bit more of just being curious about new beliefs that they're adopting, ways that there's that they are changing. What's like a good way to start that?
I think, to me, a great and pretty easy way to identify your feelings is to write them down, you know? And I've always...
You are an author. I
am an author, but I've always been an advocate of journaling. And I think some people struggle with journaling because it feels like homework. It feels like this big writing task.
Where you're like, I have to reaccount everything from the last time I wrote.
and it becomes you documenting the events of the day, right? But really journaling is about exploring your thoughts and your feelings. And so a lot of times I'll be writing in my journal and I don't recount like anything that's happened, right?
Yeah.
I'm just talking about why did this thing feel so triggering to me? Why was I so affected by this negative comment? Or why have I been sad the last 5 days? Let me kind of take a shovel and kind of dig in and really try and figure it out. And when you start to do it every day, it just becomes a practice, and you kind of, your feelings are just at the surface. You don't have to dig so much. They're just kind of right there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Almost feels like a form of like meditation.
Yeah, I think it is. It's like, to me, journaling can be a really like prayerful act almost. It's like, because when you're writing things down, you can write them down addressed to yourself, to your progeny, to God. It can kind of just be this open thing that you're lamenting, or you're asking for, or you're pleading for, or you're complaining, you're venting. It doesn't need to be, I think sometimes people want their journals to be really organized and really like have a purpose, and they want their kids to read them someday.
Yeah.
Right. And especially now, I think a lot of times we've gotten the counsel to keep journals as records for our children,
It feels like that, where you're like, my posterity is going to read this. And so you almost feel like you have to sugarcoat it.
Right. But guess what? I think that advice is a little bit antiquated. I think that advice was given before we were able to really easily document our lives, right?
That's a good point.
On social media. How many photos are on your phone right now?
Too many. You want to know
ballpark?
How many?
Yeah.
I was literally looking at this the other day and thinking, how am I possibly running out of storage? Guess how many I have.
14,000.
Nope. Way more.
38,000.
Way more.
102,000.
Okay. 65,000.
Okay. That's pretty.
How many do you have?
I have like 20,000, but I have a lot that are dumped onto an external hard drive.
Okay. See, I need to do that because it's just all on the cloud.
Yeah. My point being, quite a lovely tangent. My point being, when this advice was given to leave journals for our posterity, I don't think there was the foresight that we would have thousands and thousands and thousands of photographs.
Yeah.
And a social media footprint. And I still think journaling is important and it'd be great for our kids to read, but I also would be interested in hearing what my parents actually felt and actually went through, and not just a chronological, like where they worked.
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've actually thought that sometimes, because I guess I'm just like an emo journaler, where I typically write in my journal when I am feeling sad. It's like a release of some sort of those emotions.
Yeah.
And so I've thought even this typical kind of brain trap of like, wow, when my family reads this someday, they're going to think I was the saddest person alive.
Yeah.
But I think that there's truth to that, where it's like, okay, maybe, those are really sad pages of some of my hardest emotions. But then it in turn poses the question like, well, she worked through it, so how?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would also say to you, you should, when you have the opportunity, go right in those moments when you have really deep joy.
Yeah.
and try to document that when it's fresh,
That's cool.
you know? Because when the sadness is fresh, like you said, you want to go have an outlet, you want to release it, you want to explore it. But sometimes with the joy, you don't do that because it's just, you're off celebrating, you're off basking in it.
Yeah.
But it's great to take a second
To
and be
capture
like,
those.
today was one of the most special days I've ever had, you know?
I think it takes a certain amount of self-discipline, like you're saying, to kind of shovel down into those emotions, because it's really easy to just pick up your phone and doom scroll.
Sure.
Be like, I'm not going to dig into that today.
Yeah.
And then it just gets backed up.
Yeah.
I also really liked what you said. I actually have done that one time where I felt like I had been really disconnected, like praying wise. And I don't know, I just like wasn't in the mood, but I felt like I wanted to talk to someone, but I was really frustrated with the fact that it felt like I was talking to the ceiling. And I remember I just like wrote, I didn't even like intentionally do it, but I was just writing in my journal and it turned into like a letter to God of almost like, I don't know if you're hearing me, so maybe you get mail. Like maybe you'll come read this instead.
Yeah.
But it was an easier way to form coherent sentences instead of getting frustrated in my own head.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this before the show, but I just finished this book, A Grief Observed.
I need to read it.
By C.S. Lewis. And he talks about the whole book at parts feels like a prayer. He's like, he talks about how he's praying to God and he feels utter silence. And it's like, this is coming from this world-renowned theologian and like champion of Christianity and a lover of God and a lover of prayer. And he's saying, I'm experiencing utter silence in the moment when I need it the most, you know? And the book is very much written like a journal entry. But what's really cool is he'll write a passage like that. And then the next day he'll be like, you know what? I was wrong. I was upset with God because it felt like silence. But he said, you know, sometimes when somebody asks an absurd question, you can't really respond. You kind of just can give them silence, right? And he's like, so I realized I was asking absurd questions to God. And so he was giving me silence.
Oh, I need to like think about that for like 5 to 7 working days before I respond.
Yeah. Give it 5 to 7.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That makes me feel like I'm asking a lot of absurd questions. What is an absurd question?
And maybe absurd isn't the right word always, but maybe it's somewhat unanswerable, or it's something that is not relevant right now, or something that God wants us to work out on our own. Or maybe it's even like, you know the answer, so not sure why you're asking.
Yeah.
That's an absurd question.
That was the first thing I thought of when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the questions that you ask where you're like, well, can you just tell me one more time just to be sure?
Yeah.
I need to read that book.
Yeah, it's great.
That's really, really interesting. Well, Taylor, thanks for letting me pick your brain a little bit.
Of course.
Like I said, I really deeply admire the way that you handle emotions and you work through them. And I think obviously if you haven't heard of Stone and Clay, which I did ask him about the name previously because I was like, why is that so abstract? And he said, I wanted to name it something abstract. Yeah. Right? Isn't what you told me?
I didn't say abstract, but I said something a little bit cryptic.
Cryptic. Yeah, that was the word, cryptic. Yeah. My apologies.
Right.
But absolutely go check it out. I think every time I listen to one of your episodes, I feel like in your brilliant discussions with these guests, I like get to know myself more. It's really quite a brilliant way that you do it.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, I think my goal is not necessarily to prescribe people a way of living and saying like, I've got it figured out. This is what you got to do.
Oh yeah.
But more of saying, this has been my experience. I know there's humans that have had similar experience, and obviously 100%. My guests do the same thing, you know? And so my main goal is to just hopefully have people feel a little bit less alone
Yep.
about their suffering or their struggle, or even reminding them like that they're not alone in their joy and they're not alone in their triumph and their victories, and all of these things are a shared human experience, you know?
Yeah. It's because I feel like I know you semi decently well.
Mhm.
And I've even felt that as you've been speaking today, which I think is the whole goal here too, is just
Yeah.
to create a sense of community where in the loneliness and even in the positive moments that I know people walk around acting like we have it all figured out, but we really just don't.
I got mostly figured out. I got like 89% figured out.
You think?
No,
You
no.
think?
No, I've got life about 16% figured out.
Yeah, well, I'm probably at 14. So
It's
you're
not
beating
bad.
me.
I'm older than you.
Yeah. Well, Taylor, leave us with your biggest piece of advice.
About what?
Anything.
Can you narrow it for me? You want-
What do I want to know about? I don't want to narrow it for you. There's so many things that I know you could advise me on.
Yeah. I think a lot of people waste a really large percentage of their life waiting for things to be better and waiting to be happy and waiting to feel joy. And I'm definitely guilty of it, right?
Me too.
But I think in the last few years, especially, I've gotten better at enjoying every single chapter of life and not having my whole life be about the next chapter, you know? And that's, I guess, a roundabout way of saying just be present, you know? Just be alive in your life, be fully there. And it doesn't mean you won't worry about things and you won't be anxious about things. That's kind of too big of an ask to just say, don't ever worry about things, right?
Yeah.
But to just decide, I'm going to be fully here and I'm going to fully enjoy everything as much as I can. And when there's sadness, I'm going to feel it. I'm going to, maybe this sounds weird, but I'm maybe even going to enjoy some of the sadness. I'm going to take bits of it that are informative and that are trying to show me what I'm lacking or what I'm yearning for or what I need. And I'm going to take some joy in that. And I'm going to take some joy in the fact that my empathy is now heightened and my ability to feel joy is now heightened because I've experienced so much sadness. And so just being so inside of life that you're not fixated on what's down the road.
Yeah.
What's my next chapter? What can I do to be happy later on? It's like, well, life is actually happening currently. It's not a future life. And so enjoy it now.
Sheesh. You must be a podcaster. That was pretty poetic.
I must be.
You must be. That was pretty good. Because I think the whole time you're speaking, I'm like, emotions are temporary. Like you're never feeling an emotion being like, and this is the way I will feel for the rest of my life. I mean, maybe sometimes you feel like that.
But I mean, yeah.
But it ebbs and flows.
Yeah. I feel, what do you feel right now? What's the emotion you feel right now?
I feel pretty content, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel really super angry talking to you. It's just rage, undiluted rage, actually.
Yeah. A lot of women feel that.
What about you?
Yeah, I feel really, I don't know, when I connect with people that I enjoy and appreciate, I just feel really peaceful and just feel really emotionally satiated, you know? And
you also must be an author.
I appreciate the flattery. But yeah, that's an emotion that is fleeting. Like I'll probably feel a little bit different when I get in my car and drive away, and it'll linger a little bit, you know, and hopefully it'll permeate into the rest of the night and carry over a little bit into tomorrow. And I can kind of take bits of this and keep them with me as long as possible. And I also do believe bits of things stay with us forever.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, I could get a weird text on my phone when I leave and it'll put me in a sour mood, but I like I think when I can articulate that I'm really, really loving a moment and got a lot out of it, I'm less likely to be affected by some bad text in 10 minutes or somebody runs a red light and almost hits me or something like that would normally knock me off kilter. If I can just be so appreciative of how awesome this moment was and all the things that went into us even being in this same room together and appreciating all of that, like it's kind of hard to get me in a bad mood.
Actually really insightful. It makes me think we had a trauma therapist who does yoga on here not too long ago. And she was explaining how typically when you're feeling trauma, negative emotions, that one of the most powerful things you can do is name it. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling angry, whatever it is. Right. And I don't know why I've never thought about the inverse of that, which is what you're describing in these moments, because so often when you're experiencing joy, you're just experiencing it and you're not really thinking about the fact that you're experiencing it. But being able to, like, I've never had someone ask me that, like, what emotion are you feeling right now when I'm happy? And it makes me want to create that habit in my brain of in these happier moments being like, wow, I'm feeling really peaceful. I'm feeling really like that was really insightful, and like naming those. And if that will increase the longevity.
I think it does.
Those.
I think it does. And another thing I learned from one of my friends who is so amazing and so wise, and he's got 4 kids, and he was telling me that he'll be like on vacation with the family and they'll be doing something awesome, and he will stop and he'll say, hey, let's have a gratitude prayer. And he said, we'll be like playing in the ocean and we'll say a quick gratitude prayer, or we'll be out at a cool restaurant, or we'll be playing, we're at a concert, but it's being inside the moment and just really taking that time, to worship, which is kind of cool. But also to just be grateful. And then I think it stretches it out. I think it stretches out the joy, and it also stretches out the memory.
I was going to say, you can look back on that and kind of pinpoint that moment that you did that, and it becomes almost timeless. Like,
it's the same thing with writing, right? It extends the memory. And, one of my favorite writers, he said that when you're a writer, you get to live twice, and I always loved that, because I think it's true. I think you live once and then you go write about it and you get to relive it. And what a great way to live life.
I'm not a fancy schmancy author like some of us here, but I think the same thing about partaking of those books, reading those books. I'm like, I get to live so many different lives.
100%.
Via reading.
And
then I get to like live your life reading your books.
Which
is how I met you about 8 years ago, which is crazy.
I know.
Well, Taylor, I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Taking the time to be here and being just the wonderful human that you are, and vulnerable and open and always very insightful with a very brilliant vocabulary as always.
Thank you, lover girl. I was really excited for this. I knew it would be fun, and I think you're doing awesome stuff here.
We're just trying to catch up to you someday. But for everyone with us today, I hope that you could feel a little bit of the amazing person that Taylor is. Obviously, check out Of Stone and Clay. Connect with him on Instagram. He's phenomenal. The insights he shares are amazing. And the book reviews as of late are on point. But I think that everything that he embodies of becoming more in tune with yourself, the emotions that you feel, not being scared of those, it's what gives you, sounds cheesy, but this added little superpower of just being more aware of yourself and what you want, and living that day to day in a really beautiful way. So as always, thank you so much for being here. I am forever in your corner and forever cheering you on, and we will see you on the next episode of 20 something.
Yay.
Woo.